Welcome to Charts Today, US Open. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 15th of November, comes to you from London. And the big moves today in sterling, we're seeing really big falls after multiple cabinet resignations. So the dollar is looking stronger and maintaining its bullish stance, really. Euro sinking low, although it's slightly bullish above the dollar, but above the cloud on that 60-minute chart. We're seeing the dollar falling quite substantially against the yen, so the yen looking strong. But sterling down 1.5% against the dollar, looking very worrying. Now we've activated that downside target of 122, so that's quite significant. And against the euro, we're down 1.4%. We're not activating any big downside targets, but of course that's a dive into bearish territory. And looking at the Swiss franc, we're seeing sterling sinking lower here as well. Against the Aussie dollar, we're down over 2%, so we're really seeing that falling through there. Bitcoin is also down 4%, so we're seeing some quite big falls there. And if we look at the S&P 500 index, the market is due to open any minute, so we'll get to see how markets take that in. Futures are pricing in fall, so we see the S&P future down 0.5% and the Nasdaq E-mini down 0.28%. We'll be opening in a few minutes. Looking at the DAX, well, the FTSE is down 0.4%. That's despite the fact that sterling's falling very dramatically, and 3/4 of UK blue chip companies' earnings come from abroad, but it's not enough to move stocks into positive territory with all that political turmoil. Looking at the mid caps, down 1.73%, and the DAX down 0.6%, and CAC 40 in Paris down over 1%. So we are seeing some pretty big falls across the board here. Interestingly, Brent crude is up just under 1%, so looking stronger there, and WTI is up 0.3%. US nat gas coming back to $4.50, having really skyrocketed this last few days. And gold looking stronger. Political turmoil across the globe really just helping the yellow metal into bullish territory. Not yet quite activating this small upside target. And if we look at silver, also looking bullish there. So interesting sort of mix of events that are going on, but the market's really still looking pretty bearish. If we look in Europe, we see the FTSE 100, a lot of green has turned to red, but we do still have the resource stocks up quite strongly. Nearly all the top, well, the top 4 performers, all resource stocks. Looking at the downside, of course, we are seeing Persimmon down 10%, Taylor Wimpey. Builders being very heavily hit here. Taylor Wimpey down 9%, and Royal Bank of Scotland also down 9%. Barratt Developments, and then Royal Mail, who reported today, down 8%. And the 250, we're seeing that we've got intermediate capital up 5%, but on the downside, Capita down a massive 11%, Countryside Properties down 10%. So we're really seeing house builders and property down there in sympathy. Across Europe, we're seeing much the same picture there. It's up 5% of the top 2 stocks. So the UK stocks dominating the rises and fallers there. Looking over to the US, we're just opening any minute here. This is all coming to you from Yahoo Finance, this data. So we're about to see the US market open on Yahoo, and here we see the Nasdaq coming in down last night. So we're starting to see the prices coming in for real time, so we can actually just see we've got Alphabet down 0.25%, Amazon down 1.47%, Apple actually bucking the trend at the open here, up 0.5%, and Facebook down 1%. So we are seeing early signs that tech is going to be falling away again today. And if we look at, we've got Netflix actually down 0.6%, Microsoft down 0.25%, And if we look for Tesla just as well, these prices all just come in at the opening, down 2/3% for Tesla. Looking at the Dow 30, we might as well rank these based on performance. We've got Cisco up 5%, so that's a good opening value for Cisco, and that's about the only good news story in terms of big moves. We've got Boeing down 1.4%, and still looking bullish on the trend on Boeing though, and Nike down 1.35%, long-term bullish. Dow, DuPont also down and looking bearish on those charts. American Express holding on to its gains on that long-term chart and still outperforming the index. But generally speaking, across the board, we're seeing performances that are pretty worrying. Cisco still top of the leaderboard there, and the S&P 500. Cimerex down is up 2.5%. We go to the other end of the scale, of course. We've got NetApp down 11%. PG&E, which is the Californian utility, down a further 10% with potential liabilities for the Californian fires. So we're seeing and energy stocks really just generally being hit here. We've got Sempra down as well, and Con Ed also falling lower. So we are seeing that across the board, and then Edison down another 3%. So utilities being hit by that California situation. But generally speaking, we're seeing the market opening lower. Just have a quick look at the best and worst of the Nasdaq. NetEase up 5%, so that's beating Cisco at the moment. But maybe turning the corner on that medium-term chart, but the long-term chart is bearish. And looking at the other end of the scale, we've got Vodafone down 3%, Amazon down 2.25%. So we are seeing these relative trends all starting to fall over on the big stocks. That's it for today. Keep an eye on those charts. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.